Welcome to a Wonder Junkie podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Anderson.
Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows. Nobody has the faintest idea. The best guesses are lies. You may be sure of it.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
You're cool.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man.
Absolutely. So we just had a little chat before we started, but I'm ready to dive in. You're an interesting human being and a new friend, I imagine. So you're living here in Scottsdale now, and I'd love to dive into your mission statement first for people that have never heard of you, because I've heard you speak now a few times, and I've been following you just from afar since probably before COVID. And I loved what you were doing when you were out in California. You were making some funny videos, and then when that shit hit the fan, you ended up in Sedona, it looked like.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I've heard you speak about your mission statement. I'd love for you to just share that with the audience so they can hear who is this guy and what's he standing for, and then we'll dig in and dive into some of your thought patterns and your belief systems and see who Troy Casey actually is.
Whoa, my thought patterns.
Yeah, let me put this closer to you.
Okay.
Because I want to hear you.
Okay, yeah. Thought patterns and belief systems. Yeah, we were talking earlier about that.
Yeah, mission statement.
I try not to have too many beliefs. Okay, mission statement. My mission is to raise human consciousness, and my raise all human consciousness, including my own, and change all systems. So farming, commerce, media, medicine, education, it all gets the upgrade.
Yeah.
So, and it's a symbiotic relationship, right? Can't create new systems with the same level of mind that created the old ones, right? So it's kind of a weird, interesting lift, right? But we're awakening already, so I already see it crystallizing. And then my vision is clean air, water, soil, and equitable systems for all mankind in my lifetime. And so I truly believe that we can create peace and harmony on planet Earth and live with everything and everyone.
I love it, man. And that's a big, big mission. And when you got here, I could tell that you have a lot of pots in the fire and you're doing a lot. And you've also embodied the stuff that you write about, you know, your book that you wrote about 10 years ago. You keep your vital energy up, and I like to sort of dive into what you're doing because you've actually embodied it. A lot of people are philosophers and they talk a lot about consciousness and they talk a lot about health and all this stuff, but you've lived it, sort of like Paul Chek. So when I see guys that are over 50 years old and they still look good, feel good, and have raw energy, it's a testimony. And so, you know, you see these young guys and they call themselves biohackers, and it's like, who's following these guys? We don't know what they're going to do on their peptides in 10 years and their TRT. And so I've seen it in my culture. I've seen a lot of first responders and stuff get on the TRT at 30 years old, 32 years old, and they're chasing supplements. And at the end of the day, the free stuff, the natural stuff works best. And you've explored a lot of stuff, more than anyone I've probably come across, you and Paul and a couple others. But I love it. Let's dive into how you even became the man that you are, and go back in time a little bit and tell a little bit of an overview of your story as a young model, a young man.
Yeah. So, I started out as a Versace model. Well, first I went to school, you know, young man. You're like, okay, what am I going to do in the world? I graduated high school. I actually got out of juvenile hall on my 18th birthday. I was locked up. I was incarcerated. I was a ward of the state. I'd been on my own since I was a very young age, got in some trouble, and then they let me out on my 18th birthday. And so, and then I graduated high school, and I didn't know who I was. Counselor was like, I got a job hanging garage, shower doors. And, you know, you have the caulking right, and, you know, drive the truck out, and you have the glass shower doors. And my counselor was like, wow, that's $40,000 a year. That's a good job. He's like, yeah, you'll be a journeyman in a couple of years and you'll be making good money. And I was like, okay, great. And I did about 2 weeks, and the guy gave me my check, and he's like, yeah, dude, it's not going to work out.
Oh, shit.
So I was no construction worker. And so I went back to college. I signed up for college and just explored that for a while. Didn't really know what I was doing. Didn't have enough mathematics out of high school. So I had to go and study algebra and calculus and all that stuff, kind of get that behind me before I could transfer into a 4-year university. Luckily, a lot of my undergrad courses, I had teachers from Berkeley, San Francisco State, UCSD when I went to school in San Diego. So I had really good instructors
Mm.
at a community college, but I was on the slow boat to China going nowhere. And I was offered a modeling contract and, at least start taking pictures. People would come up to me and be like, "Hey, you ever thought of being a model?" I knew nothing about it. But as I started to explore that more and the opportunity came, I thought, wow, well, this will be some good money,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's what I figured you did as a young man. Like, you got to make some money, right?
Right.
So let me just chase some paper. I had no idea about the industry. And of course, years later, we find out, oh, there's a Diddy party and Epstein list kind of going on as an undercover.
Mm.
There's some homosexual gatekeeping and a little innuendos and stuff. And that's not my style. I don't kiss ass. I don't suck dick. And
Mm.
so that didn't fly with me very well. But here I am. I have good aesthetics. I keep myself in good shape. I learned how to do fasting, internal purification. I had digestive issues, and I
Okay.
would bloat, and the agents would, they would comment on that. Oh, honey, you're fat.
Mm.
And so I went down to the English bookstore, bought a book on nutrition, bought a couple books on nutrition, started studying that. Farmers markets were in Italy. I'd never been to a farmers market. And I started eating more fruits and vegetables. Read about dandelion being a diuretic.
Mm.
And sure enough, I got results immediately. And so that was 35 years ago. I've been studying herbs, internal purification, fasting, juice fasting, and getting results from that. That's the way how I clean my blood, keep my skin, hair, and nails fresh.
Mm.
And so that was 35 years ago. Then I had a rock star phase. I was a Versace model. I did 4 Versace campaigns. I worked with the original supermodels back when men really didn't work with them. So I worked with Christy Turlington and Naomi Campbell, and some guys would work with them, but mainly it was those original supermodels.
Mm-hmm.
There was a handful of them, and so I had like great resume,
Yeah.
and but the gatekeeping just got on my nerves, and the homosexuals just being like, "Oh, that's last year,"
Mm.
and probably word got out that I wasn't much of a game player, so
Hmm.
I just wanted to do straight business,
Mm-hmm.
and so the gatekeeping, got on my nerves a little bit, and but drugs and alcohol are everywhere.
Mm.
And I was in Miami Beach, and it's very sensual down there. It's hot.
Mm-hmm.
The ocean's there. People come down from New York and Europe. I mean, it was fantastic. I'd
Yeah.
come back from Japan, contracts in Japan. I'd have a bunch of money. I'd buy a nice Cadillac, old Cadillac from California. I grew
Yeah.
up in Northern California, so Marin County, northern Marin County, up near Petaluma, Nevada, is the town I grew up in. And we were always into hot rods, so I
Nice.
loved old American cars. So I bought a really nice Cadillac, brought it back to South Beach, and
You're like early 20s right here.
I'm mid-20s. I
Yeah.
started modeling when I was 23.
Okay.
So, um, so drugs and alcohol got pretty intense. I partied my ass off, and I just realized I couldn't, move forward.
Mm.
People told me I was wasting my potential. So for anybody who's listening out there, anybody, you got a friend who's a drunk or he's using drugs and stuff, keep talking to him.
Mm.
You know,
Did you have a belief system at the time? Like any kind of, did you grow up any kind of religion, or did you have any kind of connection to what you'd call God or spirit when you were young?
Not really. I think I had a lot of heart and soul
Yeah.
in me.
Sensitive to the world and conscious of things.
Yeah, and I like being cool,
Yeah.
and I liked cool people,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw a lot of stuff, not just the homosexual like innuendo stuff, but also there's a lot of people that would be fake or I'm cooler than you. And I grew up on the street, right?
Yeah.
You start playing those games, you're gonna get your card pulled,
Yeah.
right? So it's best to be just pretty straight up.
Yeah.
And so that's the way I like to be. And growing up in Northern California, I mean, I like to just be a cool person. I liked rock and roll growing up and
Mm.
Rolling Stones, and I liked, I started taking mushrooms and things like that pretty early on.
Okay.
But in general, I just enjoyed being a cool person,
Yeah. Hmm.
some
Cool.
semblance of that,
Mm-hmm.
not being a dick, right? And so So there I was, partying quite a bit, and then going back and forth to Paris, Milan, Tokyo, London, and that industry not really lining up. Yeah, you could make some money sometimes, but to really get a career going, it just seemed like a lot of game playing.
Mm,
And I did my best. I went to New York. I came back from Europe with a lot of tear sheets and magazines and campaigns.
mm-hmm.
Showed my book there, and Miami was great because you didn't have to live in New York or Milan, which could be just like city life. It's
Yeah.
really intense. Boom, I'm on the beach.
Yeah.
I was I would move down to Miami in November. I'd get a place without a security deposit for $400 a month
Dang.
on Ocean Drive.
It's amazing.
And I did that for like the first 3 years I went down there.
Wow.
Prices didn't start going up until like the mid 90s after Versace bought that property there. And that's
Wow.
that's how I did that
Mm-hmm.
campaign as well, because I was in the right place, the right time. And
Hmm.
Miami really wanted to come up, and my agent at the time was really coming up and wanted to be famous and wanted
Mm.
to be in on the whole thing. And he went to Milan and Paris for the men's shows, and he was like, "We're going to make Miami like this,"
Mm.
and he did. And um, so it was just a very interesting industry to be in. It was a very interesting time to be in. Miami in the 90s, South Beach in the 90s.
Yeah.
And again, drugs and alcohol are everywhere. And I lived at a bar. I lived at the Clevelander for a few years, and all my friends were either tending bar, and so it was just a big party, and I got pretty caught up in it. And so eventually, people told me I was wasting my potential, and I also started to wind down. I read Way of the Peaceful Warrior in '95. I modeled professionally from '89 to '97, and so. Way of the Peaceful Warrior started to change my life. And then I read a book called Gestalt Therapy Verbatim by Frederick Perls.
Hmm.
It was recorded at Esalen in 1967 and
Mm.
1968. And I
Hmm.
found it and I read it cover to cover. It really changed my life. His biggest thing was people are bullshitting themselves,
Okay.
and to the point where it's like elephant shit, right? Like it's not just small. It's like people are
Yeah.
just full of illusions, right? And
Cool.
so
Never heard of that book.
Oh, it's a great book. It was out of print for a while, but I think with the internet, it's back. And so, Gestalt Therapy Verbatim, he would do a hot seat like this, and then he'd ask questions about, tell us about your dreams, and then people would start like doing, body language, and then he'd
Mm-hmm.
break that apart, and then he'd pinpoint them and
Hmm.
really nail them to the wall, and they'd have huge breakthroughs. And
Cool.
what I saw was just, people are just telling themselves all sorts of stories, right?
Yeah.
And the layers and layers of the stories. And so I found that to be very interesting. And at this point, I was already trying to sober up, back and forth towards, getting sober and then getting back on the wagon and off the wagon. And at that point, I realized the modeling industry was just too soul robbing for me. It
Mm.
wasn't the thing that I truly want. There was just an air of phoniness and an undercurrent of sexual innuendos. And I was just like, this is shitty.
Mm.
And I realized that's probably why I was drinking so much. And
Mm-hmm.
just, it was a time to change. And I figured the, doing film and TV and acting was more on your merits, right? As opposed to just your aesthetics.
Right.
And I wanted to move back to LA. And if I had to do it in hindsight, I would have just stayed in Los Angeles, because that's where I started, with Southern California.
Yeah.
And doing television commercials and stuff like that, and then building up, because by the time I got back to Hollywood, they're like, "Oh, you're 30 and you've got no credits on your resume. Like,
Right.
what's wrong with you?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, that part of the entertainment industry, it was kind of a similar match to the fashion industry. It was just worse. I had a friend,
Mm.
Simon Rex, who was a rapper. He was a model, and he did film and TV. He did Scary Movie and stuff like that. And he said, and he was a great rapper as well, white rapper. He's funny. And he said that the fashion industry was the worst,
Wow.
and that held some weight, because we all hear how bad the music industry is. And so I thought that was interesting. And so I moved to Los Angeles, started a career in acting. I went back to theater school. I went to Santa Monica College. I went through their whole program. I did a couple plays on stage. I really developed myself as an actor. Really started out at ground zero, and then I started doing improv at Second City, and then the Groundlings, and
Cool.
then I started doing stand up comedy. And so, because a lot of people don't look like me that do comedy, I
Mm-hmm.
was able to get like a B list agent, and then that also kind of got weird. And then I started working with an herbal company in the Amazon. I was meditating at the time, and I was sober, and I got an agent, but uh, when I started working with this herbal company in the Amazon, I came back with all this exotic footage, and YouTube was a brand new reality, and that was 2006.
Cool.
So I started putting my footage up there, and instead of going to class and filming yourself and then looking at it, and the teacher critiquing it, and doing a lot of stage work on stage, where you can get direct feedback, people are laughing, at your work, and so the digital camera and the digital camera scene and the platforms started coming up, and I was like, wow, man,
Mm.
I can just do my own thing,
Yeah.
and then I got an iMac.
Cool.
2006, I got an iMac. I was editing my own stuff, and I've got comedic timing,
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, yeah, I like being in full control, and then loading it up, and then building an audience and starting talking to people all around the world. And I had exotic footage, so your original people on YouTube were like wafy vegans that weren't that healthy, and young trainers on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
The internet still got plenty of that,
Yeah.
but that was like in the beginning on
Yeah.
YouTube. And then it was me, and then like Paul Check,
Wow. Yeah.
right? And so that's how I found Paul. And I was working in the Amazon as with an herbal company. So I had all this exotic footage, working with the Shipipo. And then, of course, I was drinking ayahuasca, and I was documenting that. And so that was very interesting footage that was beyond just me talking about my diet or my
Mm-hmm.
exercise program. And then,
And
and
that's way before people really caught on to what ayahuasca was in the early days. Pretty early days. I mean, people had been going in the 90s a little bit, but more like anthropologists, and
you know,
wasn't mainstream at that time.
Terrence McKenna, right?
Yeah.
Well, the internet
Right.
like really made everything more
Yeah.
visible,
Yeah.
and so so I had the footage from the Amazon and the Shipipo shamans, and I mean some really beautiful icaros, and just like really powerful. I love all the textiles that you have in this house, because
Mm.
those textiles, they really make me feel like I feel it.
Yeah.
I feel the jungle, I feel the ayahuasca whenever I see these Shipipo tapestries,
Mm-hmm.
and so I had that footage, and then I also had these visions when I was in the Amazon about my family, and I conceived a child soon after that, and my son was born, and we chose to have a water birth. And I'd been working with Maori healers from New Zealand for many years, and they were
Hmm.
surrounded by the who's who of midwives of planet Earth. One lady was the top lady that did dolphin births, and
Wow.
another person was out of the Netherlands, and she was like the top midwife in the world. She wrote papers and spoke all around the world, and so I was able to consult with people on like, hey, what's really going on with like childbirth,
Yeah.
And they were like, well, this is the way you were born. Call your mom, find out. But I was pulled out with these forceps out of my mother's vagina. She was knocked out cold in the '60s.
Wow.
Both me and my brother, and then so that all that warrants attention if you're looking at trauma and kind of like the way
You were born. Yeah.
the way, yeah, the way that your makeup is,
Mm-hmm.
and why. And then how am I going to bring a child into the world? And
Totally.
then all these lights and sounds and drugs and like C-sections and like the potential possibility and all of that stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to do that to my son.
Right.
Like I have this vision, like I'm going to be a dad, and there's going to be some human being that comes out of there. I don't want to whack off his pee-pee and inject him with a bunch of garbage and bring him into the world. I mean, I went shopping at the farmer's market in Santa Monica and had all the organic food, and it was in my house, and he was born in water, and I caught him, and it was the most beautiful
Mm.
thing, and I was crying, and I was like, wow, this is fucking cool, man.
Yeah.
So I intentionally did something different
That's cool.
than the way I was brought into the world, and consulted with enough people that were based in natural medicine, and all the Maoris the healers that I worked with over the years, even the men, they're all midwives. They know how the body works,
Mm.
and so I thought that was a great education. So here you have, I'm doing ayahuasca and natural childbirth as well as whatever I'm talking about with herbal medicine, um, and so that was kind of a unique perspective. And so I gained an audience
Yeah.
right then, albeit small. And I just built on that. I was a first responder on Facebook. It was 2007. Um, built that up, and then, got on Instagram early, but I just kept on putting out content
Yeah.
and things that inspired me.
Yeah.
And then I did attachment parenting. So I was always wearing my children, right on me. And then the kind of thing, reporting live from planet Earth. It's Troy Casey, certified health nut. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I went down to Ecuador and worked with a Wachuma shaman. Well, this was 2008, and Jacques Fresco from Zeitgeist movie and this
Mm-hmm.
visionary, he moved down there, and Mike Adams, the health ranger. We all bought land in Vilcabamba, Ecuador, because 2012 was coming on the pipeline, and we were looking at really safe environments.
Mm.
And so we looked at land down there and traveled down there, and I filmed a bunch of that stuff, and just kept on, exposing a lot of the indigenous wisdom that I picked up. Kept going back to the Amazon rainforest and filming down there as well. And so that's basically, how I started and how the Certified Health Nut was born.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. You've lived a pretty wild and different life, and you seem to be always the contrarian to the cultural matrix. It seems like you've always sort of stepped outside of it a little bit and seen it, and then carved your own path. And I always love when people do it in different ways. So it's cool to watch you abstractly, but start to dig into it and see how you became so aware of all of the systemic issues too, not only in the micro world, healing your body, your gut, and your being, which is important. But you also seem to be quite aware of all of the other shit, the MK Ultra stuff, and you started to see through because of your exposure to the modeling industry and seeing all the corruption behind the scenes. But it seems like you're obviously curious and you're not going to just go along with it. So when did you start really getting curious about that stuff, like social engineering, and when you were exploring consciousness and seeing that your own programming was coming from your culture, and then you go a little further?
Yeah. So what happened, Ryan, was I was in the Amazon, and so 1999 I started Vipassana meditation. That's one of the things that majorly sobered me up. There was three big awakenings.
Mm-hmm.
Working with the Maori healers from New Zealand in Topanga, California, for many many years, decades actually now, and then going to the Amazon, working with the herbal company in 2005, and then going there in 2006, and having the visions down there, and coming out with an open heart, connected to the divine feminine. My prayers had been answered for my intentions to go down to the Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm coming out of Iquitos, and there is a mountain of sawdust. And right next to it are barges of 2x4s on its way up to Home Depot. And I'm like, okay, I have a responsibility here. At the same time, I was way upriver, backing into Colombia, like deep. I hadn't heard plane a couple weeks while I was down there, and I heard this plane way above, and it was right after the Iraq War. So it's 2006, maybe it's 2 or 3 years after we started the war down there.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started thinking, like, what if the doors open and the bombs start coming in Home City? Because vulnerable when you're in the jungle, right?
Yeah.
You're like, wow, like, you got the medicine in you, and I'm just thinking of the way of the world, and that vision comes to me, and I'm like, shit, man, what are we doing as a species? Could you just imagine being somewhere in the Middle East where they just start bombing the shit out of you and your family? Like, how vulnerable are you? Just
All the
a
time.
person,
Yeah.
like that, boom. And so my mind started going to that, and then I was just like, God, like, what are we doing to those people? And we all know it's about oil,
Yeah.
right? This is an oil war,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then my mind started coming to George Bush, and then at the time, and we all know what kind of shenanigans he was up to, and 9/11 and all that stuff. And then I was realized, God, everybody hates that guy now, and it's really about love, and, like, how can we love that guy? And so
Mm.
my heart was open to one degree or another, but I came out of the jungle going, I have a responsibility as a man
Mm.
Like, this isn't going to stop on my watch. I know what's happening as far as the destruction of the rainforest and the statistics and the species die off down there and the mining and the oil exploration. Because oil exploration, it goes number one, Saudi Arabia. We already occupy there. Then number two is Iraq. It goes Iran, Venezuela. See what happened down there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Turn that place out.
Yeah.
Number five is Ecuador. We've got bases down there. Number six is Peru. Nine is Libya. We've basically taken over that place as well. Pipelines are Afghanistan and Syria. I read a book called Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins. Have you read it?
No,
Do you
I
know
heard
John's
you speaking
work?
about it. No, I'd love to read it.
So it just basically explains the way of the world where um, the IMF and the World Bank gives loans to third world countries.
What was his lens, by the way, to have this perspective? I forget. He was a banker or
He
something.
worked for the World Bank,
Okay.
or a subsidiary for the World Bank, and
Okay.
he met a person in the Amazon working for the Peace Corps that worked for the World Bank. They shared a plane ride, and he
Mm.
ended up working for them for quite a few years. He drank the ayahuasca before he went up, started working in the Matrix, and then realized what he was doing was he was an economic hitman, where uh, the World Bank and the IMF will do loans to these third world countries.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll come in, we'll build infrastructure, Rwanda, or, Brazil, Ecuador, wherever. I think the prime examples are like Syria and Afghanistan and Libya. And so they build dams, waterways. Bechtel, Halliburton usually gets these types of contracts.
Mm-hmm.
They go in and they build roadways, electrical grids, and then they're like, "Well, hey, okay, great. Let's get you to pay this back.
Mm.
Pay these loans back. Oh, you can't?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, no problem. Just give us your natural resources and a slave wage with your people to pull it out of the earth, and we'll be good."
Wow.
And if that doesn't work out, then, well, we'll do a little coup d'etat, a little undercover CIA operation, Rwanda,
Yeah.
right?
Stir it up.
Remember when they did in Rwanda? The two religious factions and
Yeah.
or tribal factions, and they gave them both machetes.
Yeah.
They all hacked each other up
Yeah.
and stuff. It's like
It's the same playbook now.
yes,
Yeah.
so exactly. And so, and then if that doesn't work, then they send in the American military. So
Mm.
that's Iraq, Afghanistan. There's a little bit of that in the Sudan as well. Libya, Syria, Afghanistan. We're always trying to go to war with Iran, right? And the neocons wrote a paper on Century for a New America, I do believe, in 1999, and it details, taking out all these Middle Eastern countries. And so, whether it's natural resources or geopolitical angles, this is, kind of the way of the world. And so that opened my mind up to like, oh well, things aren't, as they seem. Oil
Mm-hmm.
exploration was one of the main deforestation components in the Amazon, and I'm swearing to do something about the ecosystem that's down there. That's very important. That all these plants, actually 25% of all rainforest botanicals, and 25% of all drugs. I'm sorry, 42% of all drugs, 25% of all cancer drugs get their impetus from rainforest plants.
Mm.
They standardize, they isolate, standardize, synthesize, and make them into drugs. And these components, um, sometimes they're very deadly, like dragon's blood, for example.
Mm-hmm.
When they were isolating, they were trying to make it into an anti-herpes drug. When they were isolating one of the alkaloids or the terpenes, it became so deadly they had to scrap all the research. They spent
Wow.
like $89 million
Damn.
researching Croton lecherry, which is sangre de drago, or dragon's blood.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a red tree sap, if people don't know. It's like a maple syrup, but it's red, and it's got like a latex. It's made out of proanthocyanidins. It's the highest antioxidants of anything on the planet, and it's good for sealing up cuts and scars and wounds and all sorts of stuff. You rub it together and it turns into a white paste, and then you pack it in the wound. It's antiviral, antifungal, antiparasitic.
Wow.
That's one plant.
Yeah.
Man. That's one plant
Mm-hmm.
at a whole rainforest,
Right.
right? And there's at least 40 of them. Uña cat's claw, world-renowned paw de arco, antifungal. These are well-known cancer plants, graviola, anti-cancer.
Mm.
And so there I am, I'm working for a company, and uh, my business partner got filmed. Jacques Cousteau Society came back 25 years after Jacques Cousteau had been down there. I don't know if you follow Jacques Cousteau, but I grew up in the 70s, and he was a documentary filmmaker.
I've
Uh,
probably seen them, but didn't know who was making them. Some of
Wes,
them, at least.
Wes Anderson did, I think, The Life Aquatic, which was a kind of a comedy on Jacques Cousteau.
Okay.
If you look at documentaries, you guys can pull it up on YouTube right now, but it's so slow.
Mm.
And he speaks in this deep French accent. And it's just beautiful because it's
Cool.
all underwater exploration.
Oh, cool.
He had this ship, and this is all in the 70s,
Yeah.
right? And I was a big Jacques Cousteau fan. I used to watch it Sunday morning. I'd watch it on TV in the 70s. And so his son, 25 years after Jacques had been to the Amazon to document what was going on in the Amazon and the destruction back then, his son went back. It's called Return to the Amazon. You can find it on
Mm.
PBS. And they called the company I was working with the solution to saving the rainforest, because they had the camu camu berry and these other 40 amazing plants that the Shipipo would harvest for us. They were our vendors. And then if you pick the plants, they grow back and
Yeah.
they grow back. Right? The rainforest is fertile. You
Mm-hmm.
clear cut the shit looking for oil,
Yeah.
it's gone.
God.
And then they bulldoze, look for oil. If it's not there, then the lumber companies come down with a chainsaw and $1 a day, and they cut the big trees, and then
Mm.
they bring them out, and then they start growing the cash crops.
Yeah.
That's the kind of 1, 2, 3 step of what's going on in the Amazon. And so I wanted to do something, and I had this amazing herbal company I was with that had no fillers, no binders. Purity, efficacy, and integrity were the primary tenets, and it was a great business model. And so I rode that crusade for as long as I can. Business, if anybody's been in business, it's not all gravy and ups and downs. And sometimes a visionary isn't the one who carries it to the next level. And the company had been around for 22 years. We merged it with a company in Scottsdale, and they just watered the products down and got
Mm.
rid of the skincare. And like we had skincare in Italian glass bottles, all natural, no preservatives, nothing. The
Mm.
highest quality botanicals in the world,
Mm-hmm.
the most powerful as well. And so I took that out into the business world, and that was the main way I monetized my YouTube channel in the beginning. And and so, but coming out of the Amazon the first time, drinking ayahuasca, I won a trip down with the company, and I just realized I had a huge responsibility. And so that's what my whole channel is about. That's where my mission comes from.
Yeah.
And then there is the journey of becoming myself. I became uh, um, an entrepreneur during that time. I became a father at that time. And then things unfold. It's not like you just
Yeah.
like, I'm going to be Steve Jobs and invent the handheld
Mm-hmm.
computer for every man.
Yeah.
Well, there's some ups and downs from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s, the people taking away your whole company and then getting you reinstated and then
Mm.
dying. But you know what? Visionary Steve Jobs has got these
Mm.
handheld computers in everybody's hands right
Yeah.
now. And so I've just been working with my own vision, holding steadfast with it, at the same time healing myself, working with Paul Chek, understanding holistic health at a much grander scale, and how to put systems together and work with clients and help others. And so it's been a big journey of becoming, ultimately, for the last 25 years since I started working with that herbal company.
Yeah. And that you said you've gotten ripped off by people and had to learn those hard lessons of people. Once you get a little money, they start to steal from you or do the wrong thing. And then you get tangled up in these weird relationships. I think you mentioned that Andy Elliott. What's the Elliott dude's name from here?
Yeah, Andy Elliott.
Andy Elliott, because you see him and, I don't know. I don't know the guy. I've never met him, but um, it doesn't look healthy to me.
No,
What's being promoted on the internet right now? It's like this pendulum swing from one direction to the other, hyper
yes.
toxic masculine direction, if you want to call it that, at its lowest. But maybe speak to some of these hard lessons you've learned in the last just recent years, even.
Well, I think since COVID, we saw a lot, right? Because that's really when the internet, I think, really blew up and crescendoed, and everybody was sitting at home. And you get someone like the advent of Grant Cardone, these used car salesmen, and they've got control of it. Maybe they start making some money, and they start throwing a lot of money at media. And and Andy was coming up at the same time. I moved to Scottsdale in 2022, and I saw him a little bit on the internet, and I'm just building my platform, monetizing my platform, and doing honest business with people. And the more people that I can touch, I have a product line right now I work with, and my average client loses 25 pounds in the first 30 days. And you got 70% of the American people that are obese or overweight. And it's all organic nutrition, like no bullshit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the stuff on the market is garbage. Only 4 to 6% of the food on the market is organic. So I've got that, and I've got my whole holistic education, and I've got my book, and I've got my other book that is coming out. I need some help with marketing and back end and funnel creation and packaging and pricing, and
Mm-hmm.
so I can go out and serve the people.
Mm-hmm.
And I had plenty of success in business with my book that came out, um, and so I was looking for some help on the internet, and I'd already hired a couple people, and it gets a little disheartening throwing $10,000-$20,000 at someone and to build a website or whatever, and get the thing to work, right? I've had them working before. You get it working right,
Yeah.
it's like a cash machine, right? And you start helping more people. It's the 21st century. So
Mm.
I ended up hiring a couple people, and it didn't work out too well. And you're talking $20,000-$30,000, and then I ran into Andy, and he was talking a good game, and we made a deal, and the deal started to go south. They just weren't honoring their word.
Mm.
It's like in business, there's risk, right? You have to take risk, and I need help, and that's not my specialty. You say it's your specialty. You're a man. You look me in the eye. You can help me. You're in
Yeah.
business. You have a 90,000 square foot space. I figure you're not going anywhere. And I think it's going to ruin your reputation if you can't monetize me. You take a bunch of money from me.
Mm.
And so I figured I was safe.
Yeah.
And so anyhow,
Yeah.
2 months into it, I just saw that these motherfuckers aren't going to do shit, right? What they say. And I had a big contract and all the things that were signed by his wife, Jackie Elliott. And they didn't achieve any of it,
Mm.
but they said they did. We did it.
Mm.
Fast talking used car salesman. We did it, Troy. Yeah, you're great, man. You're going to make millions. Whoa.
Mm.
So anyways, not to be too stuck on that.
Yeah.
However, I studied success. There's School of Hard Knocks. It's there. But I studied success. I studied Tony Robbins. I studied Bob Proctor, Les Brown, some of the greats that taught Jim Rohn, how to build a business and intention and action and stepping up to the plate. No, none of those guys told me that when you start making the cash flow and the money, the banditos and the cockroaches come out of the corners
Mm.
and try to rob you.
Yeah.
And I had that, and I had someone very close to me do that as well. And she told me she wanted to protect me because it's not that, I don't know. She said that I have a little bit of innocence. Money doesn't drive me, right?
Yeah.
I'm on a mission,
Yeah.
right?
You need
And
it to function and solve
yeah,
money problems.
of
Yeah.
course. So it's not my driver. However, I'm here to serve the people, and in the meantime, let's get boatloads of it so I can serve more people.
Right.
Right? I'm pretty good at the media, and so that's my mission. My business plan is to make enough money so I can make more free media so I can turn on human beings.
Right.
The amount of videos that I make with Qigong or Zen swing or breath work, and people write me that my mother, my grandfather, I got off the couch, I was sedentary,
Mm-hmm.
my back popped and things started working. I followed your videos, and they don't even know me. One guy wrote me from Pakistan, dude.
That's cool.
They don't got no fucking money out there.
Right.
He watched all my fucking videos.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's a weird trip, isn't it? That you can broadcast to the whole planet like that and have that kind of impact. Whereas like
Yeah.
just 100, maybe even 30 years ago, you couldn't have done
Oh,
that.
no way. Yeah, totally. No,
You were trapped and it was all through these people and
and
gatekeepers.
yeah. Totally, and that's what I ran into with the fashion and entertainment world in
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood and stuff. Totally, and now that I can actually get out there and reach people, I mean, the algorithm now, and there's some censorship and stuff, but for sure, there's yin and yang. Everything's a double-edged sword, and so social media has been fantastic. I've been able to reach so many people, and the fact that somebody watches my thousands of videos on YouTube and changes their lives and finds me on Instagram or TikTok or
Yeah.
something, like, that's heartwarming. Like,
Yeah.
that's all I care about,
Yeah.
right? Everybody eats. We still need to do some type of business.
Yeah.
um, and I choose to do right business,
Yeah.
right? Ethically moral business. Organic food. I can't sell supplements that have preservatives in them, or they're white encapsulated. Usually white, nothing stays white in nature. And so I need to work with herbs and superfoods, the ancient foods that we've had on this planet forever. And that's what
Yeah.
I've been working with for the better part of the last 20 years, and or offering courses where I can guide people through a process. I have the 9 pillars of health that I've developed over 20 years. And so that helps me keep things focused
Mm.
so that the student can also be focused on the one, two, three.
Yeah.
And all that stuff costs money to build. I spent $50,000 producing my book.
Yeah. It's
And
crazy.
so,
And
yeah.
it seems like you're obviously very aware of the critical time that we're in as a species because of the technology working in a weird way, in a positive way, like you just said, but also seeing what happened even recently with like Charlie Kirk and how they can use media so quickly, even during COVID, to brave new world us. And you're writing this new book,
Yeah.
which is going to be cool to get into. But how do you seem to right now? I know it's probably not easy, but balance the time to just take account for what's going right and for how much you've already done, and be grateful and be like, wow, just like it is a huge thing that you've already accomplished, while also being like, but I gotta hit the gas and I gotta create and I gotta do all this shit because we don't have much time. Does that make sense? I just feel like we are aware that there's a giant transfer of power happening beyond our imagination, and the technology and the technocracy that's emerged is so fascinatingly sophisticated. And it's like, wow, people are so willing to just trust authority and not question it. And it's dangerous. And so I don't like to pump fear, but I also don't want to just disregard the truth, which is that we humans have to start paying attention to what's happening and not be hijacked by our senses and by our attention, which is what the economy is built on right now, even including you and me. And then use it, not say that we should disregard technology and go back to being cavemen, because we can't, but harmonize with it, work with it, and use it for good to amplify and do all the things that your mission statement was about. I mean, I'm on board with missions like that myself, but
Mhm.
how do you personally do that? Take account for what's going good, spend time with your family, do the whole like, hey, just be a human being, and then step on the gas and manage these 75 things you got in the fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I believe that we're creative beings, first of all, and I'm mission and vision driven. So I do believe it's possible, and I know how to take care of myself. So I have energy and vitality. So there's all that, and then ultimately, I saw a powerful vision when I was in the Amazon the first time, and that is that humanity makes it from the precipice of ecological disaster. So that was the Amazon 2006. I had already started going down to the Mayan temples the year before that. 2005 was my first time. And, I've been on the planet for what, 30 plus years, almost 40 years by the time I heard about the Mayan temples. I'm like, there's pyramids less than 3,000 miles away from me. I had never
Mm,
heard about it.
yeah.
I got on a plane and went down and saw them
Mm-hmm.
and walked those temples barefoot. And from there, I went to Machu Picchu and the Incan temples as well. And I'm like, wow, there is something else here. And why
Mm-hmm.
didn't they tell me about this? You hear
Right.
about the ones in Egypt, but why didn't I learn about this? So I see that there
Mm.
was, there's a technology and an energy that's already been here that's more powerful than what we have in our technocratic world. There's some advancements here,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you look at Sacsayhuaman and the 180-ton stone that's up there, and it's built in a temple. It's a 3/4 of a mile long, and it's 3 tiers high, and there's no mortar, and it's sustained a 9.0 earthquake in the early 1900s, and it's massive. Have
Man,
you been to Sacsayhuaman?
no. But the awe and the wonder that you experience there is something that's missing from just education in general,
Yeah,
right? That humility. But
yeah. And there's
keep
no
going.
technology
That we
today that can lift those stones,
right.
much less place them in those configurations, the
Yeah.
Temple of the Lightning. And so I was amazed. And so, okay, the Mayan, the Incan, and the Egyptian, temples, like still people can't explain them. Like even Puma Punku in Brazil, I
Mhm.
mean in Bolivia, the cut with diamond
Yeah.
cutters, there's nothing that can explain that. So I said, okay,
Mhm.
there's something else that has been there, and the pyramid structure has value. Nikola Tesla talked about free energy. There are visionaries that have tapped in. I know that natural medicine, Hippocrates said, let thy food be thy medicine. We got away from what food really is, but we used to eat herbs, roots, barks, berries, whatever we could gather, right?
Mhm.
And grass fed remnants that have high omega-3 count, right? And so anti inflammatory. And so our biology is built a certain way. I believe that the human being is the most technological advanced piece of equipment in the whole entire universe. So these computers are prosthetics compared to what we are capable of doing. And that comes from the indigenous elders that I have studied with. And then you drink something like the ayahuasca and you tap into these other dimensions and you say, well, there's a little bit more than meets the eye
Yeah.
than the bullshit education that I was given. And for what? To go chase paper? For what? What are
Mhm.
the ends of this? There's only 4 human needs: water, food, shelter, and fire. Everything else is plastic crap from China.
Yeah.
Right. And so, can we do better? I postulate, I have the vision that yes, we can do better. We can live in symbiotic relationship with the earth, and we can make technology our whipping boy. So the 4 needs that we have, fire is represented by technology. This comes from electricity, which is fire. And so we're doing it in an inefficient way, but we can do it efficiently if we just dream it up. No different from the Wright brothers wanting to fly like an eagle,
Yeah.
right? Everybody says that's the impossible, right? Dream the impossible dream. Steve Jobs, everybody said, was crazy as well. You can't put a handheld computer in people's hand. He wasn't an engineer. He's not a designer. He's an idea man. He's a visionary. Where there's no vision, the people will perish. We've always sat around the fire, and now the fire is this technology. We've always sat around the fire and told our story, or
Yeah.
told the story of the cave that holds the bear and don't let the children go near there. Those types of things,
Yeah.
and this type of vision. And we've gotten so far away from it, we got into the television,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the MK Ultra and the mind control. And let's maybe somebody has some secrets out there. The elite or the occult has some secrets, and then they want to turn the rest of the human beings off. I'm about the liberation for all human beings. And I truly believe that we are going through a transformation of consciousness. We are transforming, whether it's neutrinos from the central sun as we align with the axis of the center of the galaxy or the center of the universe, as the Mayans talked about. It doesn't matter. We are we've been at a bifurcation point. We are reaching like an end point. I think the Bible talks about end times, revelations, but any death of anything old is the birth of something new.
Mhm.
And so I'm an eternal optimist. I don't know how it exactly shakes out, but that's what drives me every
Mhm.
day. And yes, I'm in this technocratic world. And yes, electromagnetic radiation pollution is a stress. And I feel the stress working on the phone at times. And I wear the blue blockers to help me with the frequency and the flickering of the light, because I understand that the CIA got involved with the mob and they implemented these systems with Google and Stanford and all this mind control shit. And I'm ready to break out of this motherfucker. And instead of, what's his name? Is it Scott Heron? Said that revolution won't be televised. Yeah, but the fucking evolution's gonna be digitized, bitch.
I love that.
Right? And so I'm here to call it into existence,
I
and
love it.
using that masculine, powerful energy that I've been given to call out that primal nature that is in my brothers and sisters, right? And get the man on the land, and the land will heal everything. The land and the light and the way the nature is set up. We don't need much else, right? Fire, food, shelter, and food. That's what we need. And we can come together on these basic fundamental principles. You can build these hempcrete geodesic domes. I mean, what do you need to
Mm-hmm.
really sleep? I mean, everybody's getting hip that, like, in the morning you need to get outside, get the red light into your eyeballs, get grounded, and everybody's into ice baths now. Like, give me a geodesic dome. Let me sleep on the floor. Let me get some deep sleep. Let me have some meat on the stick around the barbecue. And
Yeah.
like, what else do we really need?
Yeah.
Let me get into some creative. We can use technology. And I live in a nice house, and I have a new car and stuff like that. However, I don't need it. I
Right.
prefer my bicycle,
Yeah.
right? I'd prefer local motion.
Yeah.
I'd prefer those types of things. And we're getting a little separated with the technology. I like to go back to the gathering. That's why I lived on Venice Beach in Santa Monica for 25 years. And 7 or 8 years I lived in South Beach before that. I like being out.
Yeah.
Go to Gold's Gym, go to Muscle Beach, do Qigong, go in the ocean, come out of the ocean. We're not living in a feudal area right now where everyone's got to grow food. We can grow food with permaculture.
Yeah.
We can grow food in natural ways. The military has done research on this for years. The organics outperform commercial like 8-1.
Mm.
And so we just have to set up the environment. There's plenty of horticulturists and permaculturists out there. This is all documented. The
Yeah.
British Soil Association has this all on their website. Lady Eve Balfour did tons of research on this. So you can go to that website. Dr. Zach Butch talks about this. The soil.
Yeah.
The soil is the future of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And all this technocratic stuff, this is all coming to a crescendo. Everybody knows it's fake and it's bullshit, and that Soros is funding a lot of these protests, and that, Pearl Harbor was a false flag. That's well documented.
Yeah.
Go talk to your Chat GPT about it. It's well documented. So was the Gulf of Tonkin, Jim
Yeah.
Morrison's father. Then MK Ultra enters into Hollywood, and they start broadcasting this war inside everybody's television in their house. They brought the trauma straight in. The war's still going on.
Yeah.
It's psychological warfare.
Right.
Mockingbird Media, CIA working with the alphabets, the Google, and this all came out of Stanford.
Yeah.
Right. The Milgram experiment. Tell people bullshit long enough, they'll start telling other people bullshit, and that's the world that we live in. But the
Yeah.
truth has a ring to it.
Yeah.
Right? The truth has a ring to it, and it's based in nature. It's based in our primal nature, and Einstein said you can't solve a problem at the same level of mind that created it. And if we are to live in a world beyond fake bullshit money, the Federal Reserve is a fucking lie. It's all a
Mm-hmm.
fake. If we're going to live in a world beyond that, and electricity is everywhere. Electricity is natural. It's just, how do we harness it?
Yeah.
Can we do it in a more natural, harmonic way? I say yes.
Yeah.
Nikola Tesla already invented multiple systems that could do it, but the fucking bankers got involved with it, and JP Morgan was like, no, I'm not
Right.
going to make enough money off of that. And I also laced all the copper wires across the United States. And copper's, worth more than gold now because of that.
Right.
So it's just the fucked upness of the systems. And then we're going out of the matrix. So we're unwinding that. And it's not that, like, we can tap into this consciousness. It's into the ethers. We just have to remember.
Yeah.
That's all. And for me, this is all a remembrance out into social media. And people know this in their hearts.
Yeah.
That's why they're following along with this. Now I got to jump the algorithm little game there, and that's a game for me.
Yeah.
Right. And I can use that through humor, and I got all sorts of esoteric practices I learned from ancients and elders, and drinking my urine and slapping my balls, and TikTok loves
Love
it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They can hate me on one level. You start talking about cancer or natural medicine or food is medicine. censor him. But boy, you start slapping your balls, it's like, boom, let that go viral.
Yeah.
So I got him in my crosshairs,
Yeah.
right?
Well, it seems like the big psyop is to keep people scared of what other people think. That's what some
Oh
of those
yeah.
experiments were showing back in the 60s was you just get people to groupthink by putting them against each other. And most people, I think 60 or 70% are always going to agree to go against their own truth to just fit in with the hive.
Yes.
And that's why 60% of people got the jab. And so now it's a matter of just people like you. I know so many people not like you, but that are awake and aware and they're paying attention to this stuff. But then I go back every third day in the matrix, still putting on the little hat and playing the game at my job. And it's like no one's aware of any of that shit. And so it's an interesting balance to be. You can become in an echo chamber where you think, oh, everybody's awake and aware and they're all conscious of this stuff. But then you go out in the world and you see, man, most people aren't aware of any of this stuff. So it's nice to just throw little seeds out there. I guess you're throwing out all the seeds as much as you can and seeing who catches different seeds at different times as they sprout. You know, it's an interesting time to be alive where you have people that are super healthy and then you have people that are the most unhealthy we've ever seen. And there's these extremes happening right now. You can feel it
Mm-hmm.
like I've never seen before and
Mm-hmm.
probably no human's ever seen to this degree.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe because of social media where we have access to see what's going on in Gaza,
Mm-hmm.
right now, which is crazy. And
Mm-hmm.
so no humans probably ever had to deal with that type of apathy either. So it's just a phenomenal time to be here. I'm an eternal optimist as well. And I think that comes from not fearing death
Mm-hmm.
because I have a relationship to this thing called life, which is like an
Mm-hmm.
eternal thing. And I think that is how you get people too, is to have some sort of die before you die experience, which we're
Mm-hmm.
missing. We don't have rites of passage. We don't have initiatory experiences. And so that fear of death, or not even like building a relationship to death or spending time even pondering it
Mm-hmm.
because we're so busy,
Mm-hmm.
I think keeps you distractible and suggestible and manipulatable. So
Yeah, I have a picture of a big neon sign that says "Memento Mori."
mm-hmm.
Memento Mori.
Yeah,
Right?
totally. I love that. I say it every day on every call where I'm like, hey, we might be dead soon.
Yeah.
And it's so healthy, though. It's not like, oh, you shouldn't say that because people will tell me that. And I'm like, no, that's what makes life so cool is
Yeah.
death. Death,
Yeah.
death gives life more meaning.
Yes.
Thank God my dog died. Otherwise, I would have been like, she's cool, but like we're gonna do this forever. So it makes you want to be more lucid and be more present and actually spend time, like real time, with people and
Mm-hmm.
with life.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, it makes you much more present facing your death, or at least contemplating it,
yeah.
just enough.
Yeah. How did you start diving into this stuff? I mean, you're writing a new book, Brave New Man. Are you allowed to
Yes.
say the title right now?
Yeah.
I can edit that
Yes.
out if not. But
Yes. Brave New Man.
yeah, what are you trying to portray in that book? I mean, that's going to be a whopper, I'm sure. But is it
Well,
practical solutions or is it more to like knowledge? Both?
it's both. Well, it's not completely finished. It's, I would say, 70, maybe 80% finished. It's the essence of it's there, and a lot of it has to do with. Well, you can say a lot more in a book than you can online. I got very censored during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
um, so um,
Were they taking your platforms down or just shadow banning all of it?
shadow
Yeah,
banning.
like just all of a sudden nobody's clicking and no one's seeing anything, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, you got haterade drinkers, and you got it was just interesting,
Okay.
shadow banned, and videos taken down. Yeah, my whistleblower videos from drug reps and doctors and lab scientists and stuff. Like I
Yeah.
interviewed people from like 2008 to like 2013. I got these great interviews, and it was all about how drug reps, sell drugs and how they do the research bias, and
Mm.
doctors going to school and then start working for a lab or doing the doctor thing and just like, no, I'm not doing this. And I had great interviews, and I got scrubbed off the internet.
Wow.
I think my original, somebody was asking me about COVID. Like, people ask me about stuff all the time. And this would have been like January or February of 2020. So it hadn't even gone down. I didn't know that much of it,
Mm-hmm.
but I watched a couple of things and it just looked fake. Like all that China stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it looked fake. There was something just off. And then I just spoke um, in a more roundabout way about the health of the human being and tying it back into holistic health and really my platform. I
Mm-hmm.
said enough to where it got censored, so stuff like that came down. I've been kicked off TikTok permanently twice, but luckily I've got a great social media team. They got me reinstated. I'm not allowed on there anymore because of the censorship is so high and it's so triggering. In fact, my guy right now, I asked him yesterday and he's like, dude, we're not posting that much because you've gotten so many flags.
Wow.
And so, and we take out words. I mean, drug, sex, vaccine, like all that stuff just gets bleeped out of
Wow.
any video that I make.
Mm.
And for the most part, he doesn't interview me when I'm talking about jabs and stuff like that. And so,
Mm.
um, yeah, when I watch it out when I go on other podcasts, because I usually don't hold my tongue, so I'm expecting,
Yeah.
you know,
I'll take
you
all the hits.
you and your no, you and your editor to figure that out.
That's me, buddy. I'm a
Yeah.
I'm a beginner, so I definitely have just been getting pummeled with all that. So, but I also, the truth may set you free. I will find the right people and build the right relationships that help me navigate that as time goes. And anyway, yeah, I'm in the beginning phase of this journey, and I do not know how to navigate the algorithms, but I've already been kicked off TikTok and all this shit. And I've been through the censorship, and I'm not even a big platform yet, so it's interesting.
Well, I think just with the content that you've created so far and the conversations that we have, I think that you should take all those things that have been scrubbed off and you should put them on a private platform like a Circle app. And I think
Mm-hmm.
you should build a community over there because I think you have something that's very rich and real.
Mm.
And so I've created an online community for that exact reason. And I call it the real ones because I
Mm.
don't pull any punches. I'm interviewing Dr. Sherry Tenpenny next week,
Cool.
and so and I've got some exclusive content with Paul Check as well, and yeah, because you want to unchain, you want
Yeah.
you want the you want the straight dope.
Yeah.
People are already attracted what you're doing online if you've got something interesting, um, and then you want to have the uncensored stuff and.
Well, you want this to survive. It's like you're saying things that are important, and that's how people become aware. So the whole goal is to transcend that.
Yes,
So we'll figure it out. But
awareness is the first step with anything, and I think the more people that become aware, I think we're reaching critical mass right now.
mm-hmm.
And so I think we need it's 144,000. Is that a frequency? Is that a number?
Yeah.
The chosen ones. All are called.
Yeah.
It's just who's heeding the call.
Yeah.
Well, I know I'm a chosen one.
And
I'm right
everybody
here.
everybody knows it's off. Even the average conservative guy that maybe doesn't know anything that you've been talking about for the last hour. Like you're rattling off a lot of really critical deep dives and books and podcasts and stuff that I've even dabbled with deeply more than the average person. But it gives people it's almost like when some cool astrophysicist or some biologist gets on and starts giving you the linguistics that gives you an internal image and
Mm,
blows your mind, but you don't
mm.
understand it
Yeah,
fully. But at
correct.
least he points your awareness into
Yes.
that direction and gives you an internal representation that it's just way bigger than what you thought it was.
Yeah.
And I think sparking curiosity and wonder and getting rid of the judgment with curiosity is
Hmm.
the first step for people. And maybe going, I don't know if that Troy guy is full of shit about 80% of it or whatever it is. Well, be curious and be open and look for
Hmm.
yourself and see what happens when you dig up 9/11 or any of the things that you've mentioned. And you'll discover that you have been duped, and maybe he's not right about all the details or whatever it is, but you will find out that everybody is under hypnosis.
Hmm.
And
Mass
it's so,
psychosis.
yeah, it's so interesting when you find that out instead of being afraid of it. Surrender and lean into it and find it interesting.
Hmm.
I find it to be so interesting to be alive and awake and aware and be grateful for that fact.
Hmm.
And that gives me empowerment because I'm like, I don't know enough to be in fear of the unknown or the mystery or the weird, dark, shadowy stuff because I'm here.
Hmm.
And the miracle of life is already right in front of us. You know that. And so I think when you get in tune with the fact that you don't know and be okay with it, you do know some things, and we can tap into that inner, older, weirder part of ourselves that's deeper and richer. And um, anyway, I do like that about you. Is you've worked for years. You're a little older than me at getting rid of the fucking care what people think button. You check that off. That takes some courage and time, and then the death thing, and then you start to look at the shadow. And I think that we like to have the rainbows and butterflies, and everybody's doing psychedelics right now and trying to heal trauma and all this stuff. But yeah, we need some healing for sure. But we better get our boots on and get busy doing too, and be
Hmm.
grounded,
Hmm.
and I think right now part of the MK Ultra weaponization is to glorify psychedelics and certain components of human nature to get people more uprooted, distracted, suggestible, and it's you're way more vulnerable to the programming that's coming through these screens when you're in a heightened open state if you haven't done it in the right context with the right elders or the right way.
It's funny you're saying that because, I'm an advocate of ayahuasca and changed my life. And I am an advocate for it many years. I document all my stuff. I went to Rhythmia. I went to Peru. However,
I got more here if you need it.
however, I've become less of an advocate because intuitively I'm sensing what you just said with the MK Ultra, the programming, um, the misuse, the let's go hang out in the city centers. Let's do it, central Phoenix, all next to this psychic energy,
Yeah.
you know, entity possession, demons. There's things that are out of balance. There's a reason why I like to go to the jungle if I do it. And I haven't done ayahuasca in years.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I'll ever do it again. My biggest messages were in 2006. I'm still integrating them. The vision of my daughter, my family's unfolding, the vision of certified health nut laughing out loud, and that humanity makes it. These things are
Mm-hmm.
unfolding to this day. Certified health nut is in full expression, right? 20 years. Um, I've had that. I think Hershey's chocolate, I think they were almost folded at like 15 years, 20 years. They've been around for 100 years, right? These
Mm-hmm.
brands. And so, you know, I just I just feel like I'm going in the right direction, guided by these, the powerful medicine, the nature spirits, the information, the awakening that I've had down there, studying with indigenous cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the thing because we can romance all this stuff as well. But chop wood, carry water before enlightenment, carry water, chop wood
Yeah.
after, enlightenment. And I don't give a shit who you are
Mm-hmm.
or what indigenous person we're all indigenous. That's what Chief Phil Lane taught me. We were doing a film for 2012, the
Mm.
Mayan calendar, and Chief Phil Lane's a very wise man, and he was educated in the Western school system. And Big Chief Lakota, I do believe, we're all indigenous, man. We're of the earth, right? And then you see the MK Ultra and the Mockingbird try and come in and divide us by race and
Yeah.
divide us by all this bullshit,
Mm-hmm.
and confuse us on who we are as the human race, baby.
Yeah.
Right? And it was prophesied a long time ago: the red man, the black man, the yellow man, the white man come back around the fire, and that time is now, baby.
Yeah.
It is now. It's a clarion call, and we all know it. Well, many of us are waking up,
Yeah.
and so it's so interesting, the division that's being sowed, but that can all be subjugated using humor. And again, the truth has a ring to it. When it comes to my business and my brand, I'm confident that I will crack the code in many different ways. Why? Because 9 out of 10 Americans are metabolically dysfunctional. 75% of the American people are obese or overweight. Men over 60 pretty much die of prostate cancer. And I'm extremely healthy, and I'm getting healthier every day.
Yeah.
And that is a wake up call because I see what's happening in the gym. Aging population, North Scottsdale here. Most people that have some semblance of health later on in their years are shooting peptides and drugs.
Yeah.
And that's a dead end road. When you
Yeah.
look at ripped Achilles tendons and other issues, I see injuries. They
Yeah.
come and they go. And so a lot of these injuries can be staved off completely. And you can have the flush skin, you can have the vibrant hair, eyes, skin, nails, and all that with the holistic lifestyle and and sunshine
Yeah.
and food that's grown in sunshine.
Yeah.
And
Can you talk a little bit about your understanding of like the Flexner report and the centralized medical model and how we got here to where people like Huberman, and there's a lot of peptides and all this promotion of certain products. TRT is great for you. And so people in
it's
the
great for
culture,
somebody
yeah, it's great for somebody for a short while.
making money.
But there's
Somebody
people that are
making
like,
money.
man, this stuff's safe and effective, right? And that's why everybody got jabbed. But what is your perspective on that? I know you have a pretty rich understanding of it.
Well, drugs work.
Yeah. but the
I mean, you're a
beginning,
fireman. Fentanyl works, right? You see
yeah,
motherfuckers laid out all the time, right?
every
Drugs
day.
work.
Yeah.
Injections work. But what are the side effects?
Yeah.
Side effects are a marketing gimmick. There's no such thing as a side effect. They're toxic effects on the human body. So if you're, I'm interested in making primal Sasquatch motherfuckers, not lab rats from shit made in China for injectables, right? Even those motherfuckers over at the 100X superhuman, whatever brand bullshit that they're coming out with, right? They're prescribing these peptides. They're giving the wrong size syringes. They're giving you blood tests and genetic tests on the front end. These fucking fake ass, candy ass fucking influencers out there full of fucking shit. And so they're selling drugs, right? They're selling synthetic. You can't get balance out of synthetics. That's all there is to it. You can
Mm-hmm.
get side effects. You can get other effects. Also, if you're shooting exogenous hormones into your body, so that means you're getting your subscription for your manhood from fucking China, you fucking weak ass pussy. And you know what? Let me. I don't. I'm here to chide. I'm here to chide you fucking motherfuckers. You think you're all fucking alpha and shit like that. And I'll soften it a little bit. Like I'm not really trying to fault the end user as much as I am the influencers that are full of fucking shit and all you faggot candy ass fitness trainers that are all doped up on drugs, women too, right? And you're selling your secret diet and exercise program and follow me and let me make money online. Andy Elliott's like that, right? They're shooting tons of drugs. They're all jacked up on steroids and tren and stuff like that. And they're acting like they're successful or they're disciplined or this, that, and the other thing. But they're a drug addict, right?
Mm.
That there's no different from a drug addict. And it's addicting to be on steroids and have that aesthetic and that look.
Mm.
But if you go off of those drugs, I don't know if you've ever seen someone, you get very soft,
Yeah.
right? You get soft and your lymphatic system's jacked up. And so this can be a problem. And so the addiction is actually in the aesthetic
Mm-hmm.
and the feeling. And so,
And the feedback loop of the success or whatever people are starting to see.
right. And so, again, it's not so much the end user, it's the influencers that are lying to people, no different than the Liver King, right? The Liver King, I'm not on drugs. I don't do steroids. He's on Logan Paul and all this stuff. I eat liver and testicles, right? And then buy my desiccated and dehydrated liver and stuff like that, which
Mm.
has value,
Yeah.
right? But not because you're shooting $12,500 worth of human growth hormone every single month, and then you're bait and switch and lying to people.
Jeez.
You're actually shooting drugs,
Yeah.
right? This came out in emails that were revealed, and then the guy loses his mind and is aging right on camera. You're seeing this with other known biohackers, big people in this space, and getting Dana White healthy and stuff like that. It's not healthy.
Yeah.
You start shooting drugs and Ozempic and microdoses of Ozempic and this peptide and that peptide. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's not from natural based approaches.
Yeah.
This is drugs and this is bullshit. And you are bullshitting people and you're using lab tests because everyone's doped up on scientism to sell your garbage. You take a blood test or genetic test. Well, here's what's wrong with you. And then you just need $10,000 worth of supplements every month. But we're going to call them supplements, but they're injectables and they're made in a laboratory in China, right? And so they don't tell you that stuff. And then they give you the
That's
wrong size
terrible.
syringes
Yeah.
and you don't have the right tutelage. And then I've got two people that have ended up in the ER room. That's just two people that I know,
Yeah.
right? From getting on with one of these 100X brands or, whatever these guys are up to, selling drugs, but, marketing it a different way,
Yeah.
right? And so, there are some people like Grant Cardone and Huberman that say, I take TRT, right? Right. But most people don't.
Right.
Most people are on drugs and they say they don't,
Yeah.
or they don't announce it, especially when it comes to selling their secret diet and exercise program.
Yeah.
And you see that in Scottsdale everywhere. Most of the marketers that I've come across on the internet, steroids. Women fitness influencer, steroids,
Mm-hmm.
drugs. And that
Yeah.
needs to be talked about because it's an illusion.
Yeah. That's the negative part of social media and all the other stuff that goes along outside of those influencers, like the body influencers, but
Mm-hmm.
also the other stuff. It's like a million other things right now where people need to just expect that that's what the internet is at this point. A big giant shit show of people that are not exactly saying the right thing or the truthful thing based on influence or money, and to have discernment and to go back to the natural principles, which you've written about in Paul Check. And people look at the guys over 50 that are actually embodied and doing the work and actually have a deep understanding of how to live. And most of it's free. You know, I've
Correct.
had guys come in that are like, man, I got these $140 patches and they reverse the sun's energy and it's going to blast red light into my knee. But he's like hobbling in and he's younger than me. And I'm like, dude, I don't think that's going to work, man. You know, how about you just catch the sunrise? That's free energy, you know, and do a little bit of breath work, get a little bit of sleep. But then, you know, you watch him watch a movie all night and he's getting blue lit screen and blue lit screen here and staying up till midnight. And it's like people are so right now chasing the dragon and they're not able to just pull back and slow down enough to even know that they have a brain or awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost think like unplugging right now is the most effective thing we can do for short periods of time
Mm-hmm.
to just have access to whatever that thing is that makes you realize that you are nature instead of chasing the freaking screen and the dragon. Whatever that narrative is that's coming through the screen is bullshit.
And the truth has a ring to it,
And the
right?
truth has, and there's beautiful messages. Like I still listen to old Dan Millman videos, you know,
Oh yeah.
or whoever it is that you find that's a true mentor or a true teacher. Like if I die, I always say you should take my YouTube history and preserve it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's like this cool library of my curiosity, and it's fucking gold. I'd love to give it to people when I die. Be like, dude, check this out. It'll fucking blow your mind, you know. But if you
Yeah.
get someone else's, it might just be some garbage that'll make your life horrible. So it's interesting.
Distraction
It's all about attention.
or waste your time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the truth has a ring to it, and I do believe that we're moving into the age of authenticity. The new currency is authenticity, and I just talked to some people on my team. Meta is really aware of this because the amount of people that are using AI, and not only just AI for totally cartoonish or artificial video and stuff like that, but also for the prompts. Like
Mm.
everybody that's out there that's using prompts now, right? There's a pattern.
Mm.
There is a pattern.
Okay.
And so I think the AI can be utilized for some things, but not for everything.
Yeah.
And they're going to want human connection. And actually, not only human connection, but in person connection and community. So,
Mm-hmm.
because I talk with a lot of business people and to get my message to be more amplified, and everything that I have in place is what ultimately people want. I did a tech and psychedelic conference in Venice Beach a couple of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and there was these young kids coming there, and they were talking about wanting to get away from their phone, which, by the way, is not easy. I
Mm-hmm.
actually am, and I'm due for a sabbatical. I've been basically working for 20 years, and I've had children. My son's 18 now. I haven't had a lot of time off, even though
Mm-hmm.
I have great self-care practices built into my lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
However, I sat Vipassana many years, but I haven't sat in 20 years. And so I'm in the process of getting clearance for that next week.
Mm-hmm.
And where else can you go to not have a phone or be around Wi-Fi?
Right. Yeah, and that's a 10-day that you're gonna do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, if people don't know, I mean, 10 days of meditation, 10, 12 hours a day, and in silence, no verbal or nonverbal communication. That's a deep dive,
Yeah.
baby. That's a rites of passage.
Yeah.
Like if you have not have a rites of passage as a man, you have not gone through something difficult, you have not become a Navy SEAL or something like that, then consider sitting a 10-day Vipassana course. I used to say the ayahuasca and go down to the jungle as well, but that, as we spoke before, has changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
And people need to be off medical drugs and not have mental illness if they're going to go drink ayahuasca and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
doing a 10-day Vipassana course, and they don't let people with mental problems or SSRIs go on Vipassana either.
Right.
And so, but it is definitely, you're going to see what your mind is made out of, and it's going to come up in knee pain and back pain and
Mm-hmm.
all sorts of stuff. I'm curious to see my own knots that I've tied my conscious body into.
Yeah. And then spend a little time with your heart. Like the mind is such the focal point on the psychedelic world right now, how to change your mind. And it's like, well, all my favorite teachers were actually talking more about this thing,
Yeah.
and I saw who they were, and they actually spent years going that direction.
Yeah.
And I think that's where these medicines can work if done in the right space, or otherwise it just becomes another
Well,
thing, another trap.
well, that's what I got out of the Amazon. So I went down there in 2006, and people told me set your intentions, and you always hear that spiritual stuff, and I've been around spiritual circles for a long time, and I don't always take that advice, or I do my own thing. But sure enough, before I landed in Peru, I set my intention. I was like, well, golly gee, what would my intention really be? And you know, whether I was growing up on the street or had some challenges in as a child, I figured opening up my heart. I'd heard that from a
Mm-hmm.
couple girlfriends, open up your heart, Troy. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And so I was like, okay, well, let's open up my heart, and connect with the divine feminine in all of its facets, right?
Mm-hmm.
And looking at the little children in there, because up here, people protect their children. You got the milk carton kids, and
Yeah.
I didn't have nieces and nephews, so I wasn't exposed to little children.
Wow.
And when I went down there, they're in the jungle, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow. And
Mm-hmm.
they're so interested in you. And I
Yeah.
was like, wow. I fell in love immediately. I came
Mm.
home and wanted to have kids. So, and then the Amazon itself is the mother, right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
the heart of the mother. It's just so sensual and intoxicating and enchanting, the
Mm.
oxygen, and very healing. And then ayahuasca, the mother, the grandmother, it really reminded me of like a gigantic anaconda just crawling through your nervous system and your blood vessels and your intestines and going, honey, what's wrong? Just get it up,
That's awesome.
and just, blah,
Yeah.
but that's what reminded me of what
Yeah.
Mama Ayahuasca was all about.
Mm.
And so I got exactly what I prayed for, and it's still been unfolding.
Yeah.
And it has been a journey of continuing, to open up my heart and to keep it open, especially you get burned in business, and, the world's gotten weird, and COVID and
Mm-hmm.
psychological warfare and
Yeah.
censorship and, just trying to put food on the table for your kids. And
Yeah.
so it's a full-time job keeping the heart open, getting School of Hard Knocks in business, I'm like, all right. And even in life, I went through a divorce with my ex-wife. We got back together on ayahuasca, actually, and then still had big challenges. And, I've been celibate for 4 years, but I don't want to be jaded, and like hate on people or
Mm-hmm.
everyone in business and women in general. I don't, that's not where I want to go. So I've actually taken the time to just work more on myself. And that's why I went celibate as well. Cause I was like, all right, I got stuff to work on. Let me work on my side of the equation,
Mm.
type of thing. And so
4 years, you said?
for
That's a long time. Wow.
4 years. And when we first got divorced, 2017, so I started dating on Bumble and Tinder, right? The phones didn't exist when I got married. So all of a sudden, digital communications is a real thing. And
Yeah.
so I'm divorced. Like Tinder and Bumble, and I'm like,
Yeah.
free lunch. Last time I was single was like
Yeah.
late 30s, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right,
Yeah. What
yeah.
a terrible drug.
Oh my
I say
God.
I've been clean for 10 years from
Oh,
that. And I
oh,
tell guys, don't do it.
it didn't take long.
Yeah.
And, you hook up with a couple girls, and then all of a sudden they want you to text back, like, and you're not texting them. And then the cows are coming home, and it's like, and I'm like, hold on, like I got a business and children. And I was just like, so I kind of stopped it right in the beginning.
Yeah.
I had my little fair share of whatever I was doing.
These poor young guys, though, they're being born into it.
Oh my God.
Can't imagine.
My son is a virgin at 18. And I lost my virginity at 14, 15 years old. So
Mm-hmm.
the world is a little bit strange, and my kids know it, and they've got a little bit of an education living with me.
And they did some Steiner Waldorf schooling, right, from the
Mm-hmm,
beginning.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've had a great upbringing, as natural as possible. Um, and it's paid off. It's paid dividends. My children are very present. They're like adults. You
Yeah.
talk to them, you have full engaged conversations with them. They're not really children. They're they're adults. They're
Yeah.
present human beings,
It's amazing.
and very creative and very responsible. And yeah, I love my kids. They're amazing. All the hippy dippy do stuff that I decided to do,
Worked.
oh, it panned out in spades
Yeah.
completely. My kids are amazing.
Yeah.
Feeding them organic food and raw milk, and my kids are amazing. Athletic, smart, intelligent.
Yeah. And there's a small percentage of kids that get that treatment, because of the lack of understanding or awareness and all the things that you chose to go and discover. But what's cool is that you share as you go.
Oh yeah,
You're not like, oh, I'm going to preserve my family and build a bunker and hide. No, you're bringing the tribe with you.
yeah.
You actually care to raise the tide for everybody else, which is pretty amazing. Reciprocity.
I am for the liberation of all human beings. And actually, some of my funnest videos and most successful videos are on parenting. And
Cool.
so I love being an amazing parent. And I think children are super, super important for the future of humanity. And I think healthy children are important. And yeah, I think it just makes a huge difference. And whether it was natural childbirth or organic food or
Mm-hmm.
Waldorf education, it's all paid off in spades.
Yeah. So writing a book is probably not easy. This is your second one. What's the essence of the message of Brave New Man?
Brave New Man is an allegory of Brave New World, Aldous Huxley's dystopian novel from the 60s, I do believe.
Mm-hmm. Great book.
And yes, and so we use that as an allegory, and that's the name that came to me intuitively. And it goes through my situation with COVID and moving to Sedona during that time, and going through some big challenges in my relationship, and watching lawyers get involved and watch what people think that they're entitled to and they can grab, and the lying and the cheating and the stealing. And the same thing was going on the macro,
Mm-hmm.
on the world stage with COVID and the vaccine. And it's based in natural law and common law.
Mm.
Um, yes, and I'm no common law expert. However, the essence of it, I discovered it and put it to work while I was being harassed with the legal system.
Mm.
And and then natural law, I mean, as above, so below, the natural law of correspondence, um, uh, the law of polarity, the law of gender. I mean, these things, this is what governs life on Earth. And if we don't pay attention to that and we're being gaslit, like gender doesn't
Yeah.
matter. There's 50 million genders and it's okay.
So you went into a little bit of a brief history of how we've lost that.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And
That'll be great.
the basis of what it is. So
Yeah.
it can guide men,
Yeah.
right?
Cool.
And know who they are in time and space. There's only one law. Basically, I travel freely and do no harm, right? Don't get in my way and I won't get in your way, right? That's the only law. Don't tread on me. It can be
Yeah.
said another way. And so everything else is legalese.
Yeah.
I think there's,
It's very new to me, this idea and understanding, which is crazy that I'm 44 and I only discovered this 2 years ago from Morgan Langan, who lives up in Sedona area, Cornville.
I know him.
Yeah, Morgan was speaking at an event and he blew my mind because I'm like, who is this guy? So then I get to chatting with him and then I go visit him at his house, and he went through the process and wrote a book called like The Sovereign Path or something.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But man, does it take work and effort in the world once you've gotten into all these contracts. And so it's nice that people are starting to put
The birth certificate being the big one.
biggest one. And it's like, I'm glad people are starting to package it and synthesize it and make it something that people can replicate, because it's not easy to just be like, well, my mortgage and my birth, you have to uproot and untangle all this shit. And most people are busy trying to feed families and raise kids and survive. And I hear people like Dr. Jack Cruz go, well, I don't give a shit about you and your family. I'm just talking to the savages. But me, I'm always like, well, I work with a bunch of really cool dudes that don't know any of this shit.
Yeah.
And they're great people. And they're actually the ones serving the fucking public. So let's not just disregard everybody that doesn't know because they're busy being human.
Right.
I'm not about talking to just savages. I want to talk to people
Mm-hmm.
and help everyone, like you
Yes.
said.
Yes.
I don't like this idea of creating a little tribe of Bitcoiners and hiding out and thinking that Bitcoin's going to do anything good in 20 years. It's not going to work. What the fuck are we talking about? When shit hits the fan, I'm calling my engineer at work because he can build shit, fix shit, shoot shit.
Right.
And he's a good dude that doesn't panic when shit hits the fan.
Right.
So I don't buy any of that shit either. That Bitcoin's going to save the world and you can still have money. It's like, dude, what's going to happen to the computer systems and everything else? I just don't buy it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I
Yeah.
derailed you because you're talking about some of the components of this part of the book.
Well, and this, I like to write about my own self-discovery. I'm the type of teacher that can only teach from experience and what I've actually achieved. Sure, I've got some book smarts, and sure, I have a basic rudimentary understanding. But if I can't apply it into life, for me, it has no ballast in reality. No matter how great the idea is, and so I test everything and drill down to bedrock.
Mm.
But understanding the basic tenets of natural law and how the third dimension on Earth functions, and then common law, which no victim, no crime, right? And then we get held up, and we get civil legalese, and people just say, "Oh, that's mine. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's mine."
The
You
Victim
know?
Olympics.
Oh, dude. Well, and depending on how well you're able to play with lawyers or how
Mm.
opportunist lawyers want to be, and but yeah, you have rights and you can stand up for you. And lawyers hate dealing with someone who knows a little bit of common law.
Mm.
And it's all a card game. It's all a card game.
Yeah.
Show me your cards, and you win some and you lose some.
Mm-hmm.
The first attorney, I wore her the fuck down and made sure that she knew that I was fucking gonna play as best as I
Mm.
could play.
Have you heard of Brother Truth?
I've heard of quite a
I
few
had him
people.
on the podcast and he was fascinating. Like he dives into this stuff quite a bit.
Yeah, and I'm no Brother Truth
No,
or Luke
I just,
Story
to me,
or
it's new and I'm curious and I want to know. But it's like each person's coming from their vantage point and we try our best to communicate.
yes, and there's more people that are getting hip to this. And
Mm-hmm.
my friend Angela here is very hip to trust and equity. This
Yeah.
is one of the reasons I like hanging out with her.
Mm-hmm.
During the situation, I was exposed to trust funds and how they protect generational wealth and set you up and operating in the private.
Mm.
And it's a journey of becoming. However, things have been tested and I've been
Mm-hmm.
able to stand on my trust, and yeah, and lo and behold, some people like Donald Trump has trusts, and Andrew Tate talks about them as well. And
Mm-hmm.
it's, to me, it's a little funny because it ends up being this little paper game,
Yeah.
you know. And why can't we just deal on true honesty and high vibration and awareness? Well, because I guess there's been some games played in the little shadow element of humanity, and so.
Yeah.
But I truly believe that um, truth and love wins. My love wins, right? My love wins. Love wins in the end, and so
I love it. Yeah,
yeah.
you're an interesting man. Yeah, I always ask everybody if you were going to die today and this was the last thing you could say to the world, what would you want to share?
Fuck yeah. Um, okay, I'm gonna die, and the last thing I'm gonna share.
Mm-hmm. You're going to die on the way home, God forbid. I'm not a superstitious person. I don't believe in that.
Okay, all
But
right.
this is it. This is the last moment you can speak.
Yeah, well, I'm like a crazy horse. I seen a vision. I go through battle unscathed. It ain't my time to die, but it's always a good day to die, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, what I'm going to share with posterity. So, you are a child of God. You are a all-knowing, self-healing mechanism, and so just remember that in as many and different ways as you possibly can access that, and ultimately follow your dream, your purpose, your legacy from your heart's desire, not how the mind is going to monetize it. So what I do with my clients is I take them through, I have them write their eulogy and stick that Genghis Khan flag up on the top of Mount Everest and say, I fucking came, I did, I saw, I did, whatever you want to do. My mom told me this when I was younger as well. We were into Harley Davidsons and the Rolling Stones, and she's like, do all that stuff, and you can create and have whatever you want. The Wright brothers wanted to fly like an eagle. Steve Jobs wanted to put the handheld computer in everyone's hand. Somebody invented the sidewalk, the bicycle, the wheel, right? Whatever's not nature was made in the mind of man first. So whatever you can dream up, whatever you love to do, whatever you are good at, your effortless genius, whatever the heart desires, like if money wasn't an issue, find that thing and go in that direction. Part of the solutions that I have a campaign. When the circus comes to town every 4 years, I run for president of planet Earth, right? And currently, if you didn't get the memo, I am president of planet Earth. And this is a real campaign, right? I'll go toe to toe with any politician. Free energy, gift economy, permaculture, and self-care education. This is how we'll save planet Earth. When you know how to take care of yourself, you're naturally going to take care of the local environment around you and help others do the same. Free energy, Nikola Tesla already invented it. We just have to harness it and bring it to market or however we harness it. And electricity is everywhere already. It's already natural. And so the gift economy, Ubuntu is what they call in the Zulu nation in South Africa. And Michael Tellinger has a lot of research on this, but it's called contributionism. And if our species is to survive, and I've seen the vision that it does, it's going to come from cooperation, right? And so some people like to cook food, some people like to critique food. They got whole fucking television shows, food critics, right?
Right.
Some people like to grow food, like my friend Joel Salatin. And so we all have our unique je ne sais quoi, right? And just giving our gifts. We can make technology. We've got driving cars now.
Yeah.
We can make technology our whipping boy, right? We don't have to have it enslave us.
Right.
And then we can get back to this creativity. And what can we create then? Look at what we've already created. What can we create then? And then permaculture's food's free when you cultivate the land and plant food forests.
Yeah.
We can feed
It's
everybody.
abundant. Yeah.
The world, yes, this is the other message. The world is abundant.
Yeah.
We've been sold an idea of scarcity, but
Right.
I'm here to tell you the world is extremely abundant.
Yeah. I love it, dude. It's been really fun chatting with you. Thanks, brother. You're fun.
Ryan, you're the man.
It's nice connecting with you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was some good stuff. It'll be nice to share this with people.
Good.
Right on, brother. Thank you for listening to the episode. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Spotify, YouTube, and iTunes, and rate the show. I hope you enjoyed the episode.
What we call reality is in fact nothing more than a culturally sanctioned and linguistically reinforced hallucination.